Hello learners. In previous session we have discussed about a criticism on Far From Mending Crowd, and now the upcoming series is talk about the themes of this novel. Today we will discuss one theme. If we get on time, then we will discuss the second theme. Otherwise we will go with the one by one theme, not go with the whole theme in one lecture, but we will divide it in a 2-3 lecture series. So it's a get easier for an understanding. So today's first theme of this novel is conflict and the law of nature. So let's see. The title of Far From the Mending Crowd is taken from an 18th century poem, Thomas Gray, Elegy on a Country's Churchyard. But it's a cut off the rest of the line, which in its entirely read Far From the Mending Crowd's ignoble strife. While the idea of a bucolic countryside as a being free of the strife of the crowd is one way to characterize country's life. Hardy's title is ironic, rather than depicting a stereotype of pastoral claim. His novel used this image as a jumping off point to portray a landscape that's the actual riddle with the conflict. Means we find a conflict in this title also. It shows a civil life or the landscape of the village life, and there is a restriction or that what are the problem they will face. We have seen. So that he actually tell us by using a title. It's in a fight or the conflict between a nature and that village life. That was that. It's a characters must battle against the dangerous and often overpowering laws of nature, and it's a creature even while the characters themselves become a subject to conflict among each other. That mirror of difficulties of the natural world. Means it's a fight between two worlds, natural and the human world. So that is the leading thing on. If we see with this theme like another conflict of law of the nature, then we can find the natural law and the human law. They are like become a clash between them. We find a clash. Let's see. Indeed, nature seems often to fly in the face of people's desire and plans. The disaster of Gabriel Oak's ship is the novel's first dramatic instance of this. While Gabriel has spent year and all his resources developing the flock, one unlucky event killed them all, and they immediately transfer his circumstances. Means that a few days back Gabriel Oak was on a reach, but the natural calamity comes, and now that the circumstances of Gabriel Oak's change. Why? Just because the natural law was applied. Later though, Gabriel seems better equipped to handle the victimization of natural disaster. He meets Bathsheba again after putting out a fire in Weatherbury, and he saves a group of lambs from being poisoned by crows. Two instances of Gabriel's newfound ability to navigate the danger of the natural world. Troy is the opposite case. He is. First, we have seen Gabriel Oak's circumstances. First, what are the power position he hold after natural calamity? What will happen after that? That man have to go for an search for a job, and he get job by whom? Bathsheba give him a job. Why? Just because now circumstances are changed. So that's the natural law which apply whenever apply on a human's law. then we see that the circumstances are always changed. But sometimes some human will also challenge the natural law. We have also seen, like in this case, Gabriel Oak faced a problem, but he nourished it. He able to solve the problem. He fight against the law, and he solved that. Let's see what will happen with the Sergeant Troy when he will be facing a problem. Troy is the opposite case. He is used to manage his own affair adeptly, but after Fanny's death and after a storm waves away the flowers he has planted at her grave, he raged against cold natural laws and uncontrollable circumstances rather than learning to work within them. But he not able to learn to work with the circumstances. That's the difference between a Sergeant Troy and Gabriel Oak. Now let's see what will happen with the Bathsheba when its turn come about, or the triangle when moves to the Bathsheba. What was the law of nature and the human laws? Bathsheba manually also learned to navigate as the best she can as a hostile natural environment. For her, Troy eventually became a yet another conflict-ridden aspect of his environment. After their wedding, for an instance, he plays a Bathsheba's worker with alcohol. A result, no one except Gabriel is around to keep they have safe from incoming storm, and Gabriel and Bathsheba have to race against the time and the nature to ensure that all is not lost. That incident was that Sergeant Troy give it alcohol to all worker, so now they are not in that condition that they one more time go into farm and they are able to protect the crops. But aspect only that Gabriel Oak was there and Bathsheba, so both have to go, they have to go in farm and they have to protect their crops. So that was the result. As a result, no one except Gabriel is around to keep the high safe from an incoming storm, and Gabriel and Bathsheba have to race against the time and nature to ensure that all is not lost. Humans then can work to might get conflict within the nature, can rebel unsuccessfully against it, or can become a hostily a force of their own. Whichever the case, the novel makes clear that a country's life is not an exempt for such a conflict. And while humans manage natural forces as best they can, there is a little they can do to half forces outside their control. Fate, chance, and circumstances then rule Hardy's ruler world. Means that why we see the natural laws and the conflict just because Hardy's settings. Hardy always put his novel setting on a Wessex, that the illumination or that the imagination England's area. So it's gonna look like a little bit village kind of an area. So there we can see that the nature is more powerful than other things. So that's why we can say that the natural law is more higher or very powerful in this novel. So it's a talk about a natural law. In an upcoming lecture, we will talk about another characteristics like a tragedy and illusion of genders. In the next session, we will talk about that. Hope so you guys can understand about natural law and the pressure on humans, how it's react when there's some kind of natural calamity comes on human shoulders. Means here we have seen the reaction, how the character are reacting when they are in trouble with Gabriel Oak, Bathsheba, or the Sergeant Troy, how they are responding to the nature's law. Like in a Gabriel, he not become destroyed by the circumstances what he faced, but what he do actually, he faced that problem and he tried to solve that. At the end, he faced that he lose everything. Now he become a poor man. He accept that, and now what he do? He was searching for a job. Means that man has connect with the nature, that he able to survive with the nature. Whatever happen, he accept that. The same way, Sergeant Roy not able to. After death of Fanny, still that man was not able to accept that that man has to work. He was denying the laws of nature. After that, we see that Bathsheba also. That finally she realized why, just because of the only nature. That if that a cyclone calamity or that the natural calamity will not come, that if then and then she realized that the truly that Gabriel Oak is perfect for her, not that the Sergeant Roy. Why finally she realized her mistake, that the Sergeant Roy is never interested in farming, only just because of that incidents. So sometime natural calamity not come within a bad idea. Sometimes it's come within a good thing also, but it's a depend on our eye, or on our point of view, that how we see the is it problem or a new way. It's a given a new learning. It's a depend on us. So that was the thought behind this. Hope so you guys can